Hey everybody, welcome to episode 170 of the Bonehead podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. And jingle. Welcome back, I'm Ben, and today I'm joined by Ian Triple Pound Triplo. How you doing, Trips?
I'm very good. It's a sunny day. We're all happy.
It's
all good here.
So nice out. We've just been for a walk over the forest with little Libby, and she was absolutely loving it. And Tiff and I were like, this is the perfect weather. Like, it is, yes, it's got that glorious autumnal NFL season feel to it.
Yeah. It's quite nice. You can go out, but if you walk in the shadows, you go, yes.
It's
back
perfect.
to the shed.
Jumper weather. Yeah, exactly. I get to bust out the Bonehead hoodie again soon, which is pretty cool. We don't have a brush dive today. He has got lots and lots and lots of things to paint. And Milton, well, he's on the run again, so we'll be fine. We'll get him back on soon enough. I have no doubts. No doubts at all. But on episode 170, Trips, what are we talking about today?
On episode 170, we're going to talk about the best of Blood Bowl 2020. As we come towards the end of a cycle, we're going to look back as opposed to look forward.
Exactly. We have come to the end of the 2020 edition, basically, and we thought it'd be worthwhile jumping on and just talking about some of the great things that this current edition of Blood Bowl brought to the game and to our lives. Before we get started with the episode, I just have a little shout out to make. I came home from Bracknell yesterday and I went shopping in my local Tesco, and a chap came up to me, gave me a fist bump and said, hey, love the channel. It was wicked to say hello to you, and I completely apologise that I had no idea what was going on. I was listening to a UFO podcast and I thought you were going to ask me where the milk was, because I have 17 years of retail PTSD.
Market PTSD.
Where even in a supermarket I don't work in, and I've not worked in a supermarket now for like 4 or 5 years, but when people come up to me and make eye contact, I'm like, okay, right, yeah, where can I signpost you? So I just want to say it was lovely to meet you. I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but it was wicked, and sorry, I was literally in a completely different world listening to a thing about USOs, about unidentified submerged objects like underneath the water, and I was like, wow, what could that be? And then yes, so sorry, but I wanted to say a shout out right at the beginning of the pod, because thank you so much for coming up and saying hello. It was wicked. It absolutely made my day. So yes, I wanted to sort of say that before we dive into the podcast proper. All right, so as everybody will know, if you're listening to the podcast, there is a brand new edition of Blood Bowl coming sometime this year. I mean, it's been like 4 weeks since the announcement, but I think at this state will probably be safe for Bonehead Bowl, or it will be released at Bonehead Bowl, right at the very beginning of November. It's probably the earliest now, Trips.
I think we're at that point, yeah, because we're probably, even if it was previewed on the 27th, you're talking coming out to pre-order on the 4th, then 2 weeks after that. So the 18th is the earliest it can be now, whereas we know there's a price hike coming early October. It's not going to come out before that. It's my commercial head going. It's going to come out after that. I reckon we'll get one more article, then we'll have a week or so pause, then we'll have the preview drop.
Well, they don't tend to drop all the details until after the Sunday bit, do they? They kind of do that on the lead up.
Get like the team tease and here's a bit more about the team and here's a bit more about the team during the pre-order window to go, have you not pre-ordered yet? Please go pre-order.
So before we jump into all the good stuff, Trips did ask, he was like, how many podcasts ago was this? And we've dug into the annals of YouTube to find out that episode 51 was the first podcast that we did in the 2020 era. Before then it was kind of like episode 50, we talked about the Snotling team release. And then boom, all hell broke loose. The leaks happened, we saw all the teams. But this podcast, episode 51, which is now basically 120 episodes ago, we were looking at SPPs, and you know that fits in really nicely because we're going to be talking about, you know, the parts that Blood Bowl 2020 introduced, you know, or what happened because of Blood Bowl 20, because Trips has got some good notes on this. And it was just, yeah, it was cool that it started off. That was, oh yes, do you know what? I think that was going to be my first pick for stuff. But yeah, it's just funny. Like 5 years ago, Trips was like, "Did you podcast alone?" I was like, "No, didn't put the podcast alone. I had Ben just on the audio only." This was back in the
Ben on audio only, and yourself on. Well, as we said, it was in a slightly lower resolution. Let's go with.
Yeah, what was this? 720, man, 720p's never looked so bad, has it? But I think that's probably just my camera. But hey, the cameras are never as good as you want them to be. But kind of in preparation for this, I booted up the Warhammer community and kind of went back to see what the release schedule was like and what it was like when Blood Bowl 2020 landed. Because Blood Bowl 2020 was spoiled on the 12th of October, I think, or no, the 17th of October in 2020. Our Trips 2020 was a bit of an interesting year for the world, right?
Yeah, 2020 was the year where we all spent a lot of time watching YouTube, and the only year we all got some exercise when we were allowed our government allowed 1 hour out walking around.
Country mandated PE. That was what a time to be alive.
Literally one plague ago is the way to describe it.
Yeah, one apocalypse ago. It was quite interesting, and you kind of it doesn't feel that long ago that we had all the hype for Blood Bowl 2020, but it is really interesting to think about how it landed, because we were talking about other podcasts, and it was Mega Bowl that we were able to run, but that was in the brief window at the end of 2020, right? Where
yeah, that was the post big lockdown and pre Christmas. Are you or are you not going to be locked down? And then we back in the homes.
And
so we all escaped, bought some Blood Bowl, and then went back inside to paint them.
That was quite funny. It did feel like we absolutely snuck that tournament in, because it was mixed teams with 2 games of 7s and 2 games of 11s all on the same day at Entoyment, and it was mad because it was just like everyone was like, right, let's get some 7s, let's get some mixed teams, let's get some proper 11s, let's go. Snuck a whole day of Blood Bowl in, and then basically woke up on Monday to be like, no, stay indoors again. But the thing that made me think about it was that they got an interview with the head man of Blood Bowl here, Jay, from 2020, and it's of him in his bedroom, old school 2020 vibes. But he looks so young. He looks like Ben, which is quite funny. But yeah, it's interesting to see how far Games Workshop have come and how far the world's come in those times. But they dropped this article. This has kind of got me thinking. It's like they did this article that's like building a better season, where they kind of deployed what the changes were for Blood Bowl 2020. That's a rubbish one, looking back at it.
Memorable changes, not in the most enjoyed changes, but I think it does link to one of the biggest changes from the last series in detail, which was the new stat.
Yeah,
passing was not a stat before Blood Bowl 2020. It was all based on ads, and it's been based on ads for a year, and it made a massive difference until we worked out the wildly inaccurate rule.
which we got wrong for, I think, 2 FAQs. But I mean, I am quite happy that they have removed wildly inaccurate passes. Like, bye-bye. It's quite funny. The passing stat introduction, right, let's start there. So the things that 2020 produced, the brand new things that 2020 brought in at the beginning of the edition was the Black Orc team, the Nobility team, and then the passing stat were kind of like the first 3 big ones. And the passing stat, yeah, like Tripp said, it changed everything from being, you're good at edge, therefore you're good at throwing. So there's, I think, a positive move there. But, obviously it's, passing has become a bit of a meme. Like, is passing worse now? Well, it's interesting because the throwers tended to have got better. So Skaven thrower in 2020 went from being edge 3, so basically passing 3+, to edge 3+ and passing 2+. So they kind of made the throwers better at throwing, but they also did introduce wildly inaccurate passes, which made throwing more risky. So I think if wildly inaccurate was just gone from this edition, which it's gonna be, and they don't change anything else, immediately throwing becomes a little bit better, because the worst that can happen is you fumble in your own square instead of like kicking it off.
Yeah, and it made the thrower positional much more important. I think the article mentions it there. There were, if you played against a high edge team, they would literally run the ball everywhere and throw the ball everywhere because there was just no way of stopping them. Whereas
There
with
was
the
no
passing,
better value thrower than a high elf lineman.
yeah, basically every lineman is the best thrower in the game. Whereas now you have the specialist thrower. They are not just a leader caddy, they are the one who throws. They've got that slightly better passing stat. And it has changed the focus of the game in detail. It's probably, with wildly inaccurate, made passing less prevalent.
Yeah, yeah.
It's made you design a roster if you want to throw more. You've designed it around a thrower.
Man, you've made me think now. Actually, pre 2020, I think I don't know how often I bothered with the Skaven thrower if I couldn't afford it, because the gutter runners at Edge 2 Plus were just brilliant. Like, gutter runners were just, it was like having 4 Christian McCaffreys. All right, they were built like Joe Burrow, but like they could run and pass and do everything. And that, oh yeah, those are good times. Now they're just, you know, excellent catchers and runners instead of being throwers, which does feel more appropriate. And it did mean that, you know, the human thrower, the Skaven thrower, they gave them a proper role, and they're really good to take. Like, if you want to go that route, then it also made it brilliant because the nobility team landed with a significantly worse thrower, and it was great to just be like, hey, you suck.
And everyone's like, oh, throwing, team in the box has got a thrower. Hang on. He might be the worst thrower in the game.
Passing 3+ and pass. It was just the lack of sure hands. It was just like, yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one. All right. So yes, the biggest change I think 2020 was the introduction of the passing stat, how that changed. They talk here about how the rules kind of just got tidied up. But I think that moves us on really nicely to the next thing, which was the way teams leveled up trips changed massively in 2020, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We moved from a system where if you had someone, Richard Saxby, who would always roll double 6 on a skill up, then they would literally get a stat up all the time, to the earning of SPP relating to how many SPP do you want to save to get a single or a double, and stat ups being, characteristic improvements as they were changing, being very much less prevalent in this version. You would have to save and save and save and save, and we all know what happens as soon as you build any SPP on a player, they become the person that the league will wipe out. And it's changed how you level up your teams a lot in the detail, and really made it interesting, particularly on the old special positionals. You know, I really need that secondary skill.
Yeah, but I think the my favorite thing about what they did in 2020, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. Randomly spiking on a roll and ending up with strength 4, whatever, was just egregious, Bryden. But the random primary for 3 SPP or random secondary for 6 SPP, it just made it gave you this extra bit of agency, the extra bit of choice. So if you're running a chaos team and you want to lean totally into randoms, you can do that quicker. It's going to be suboptimal. If you're running a stunty team, or you've got stunties on your team, so goblins, you know, on any team, except, yeah, okay, goblin lineman on any team, right? Being able to get to 6 SPP and then taking a random general, it's just so good because you can end up spiking. And this is it. You got to save, wait, and spike on the roll to get yourself something good. But I just loved it. I love the random skills that Blood Bowl 2020 brought in. I thought it was so much fun. The random primaries, it's difficult because I don't know if they were costed too high, because I don't think I took a bunch of them in BB3 because I went through a phase of just like, what happens if I make every player like, well, I wanted a movement 9 Skaven thrower. So it's quite easy to do on Blood Bowl 3. You just, you know, rinse the SPPs and then take movement and then try and do it again. Like, it's only 38 SPP, and then you end up with a movement 9 passing 2+ sure hands piece, and then 4 movement. It's great fun, but it's obviously suboptimal. But the fact is, you get kind of that chance. But it's a long way to go for SPPs for the characteristic improvement in 2020. It's the only kind of nega trait of this edition, I think. when it comes to skill ups.
I think what I really liked about the random is the random being set at 3 for your first meant if you accidentally did something with a random lineman,
Oh,
it,
touchdown. Yeah.
yeah, it was like, oh, actually, I can just give them a random skill because they were literally a random player for me, and now they're the one I don't put on the line of scrimmage. And you might get kick, or you might get frenzy,
They
or you
become a positional.
weird and wonderful, and you'd be like, well, I've never played with a lineman with that before, but it's better than just a plain old lineman.
Yeah, they become a positional, and that's again like that's it. The random skills, especially on a team like Black Orcs. Your Black Orcs, they take a long time to get your SPP, but you want to. That's fine. Like they don't really need anything. It's okay. But the goblins, if you can turbo a couple, and that's what I did in the Wobble League, like you roll those random generals, like and see what happens. Like maybe you get block, maybe you get wrestle, maybe you get sure hands, or maybe you get kick, like maybe you get tackle. Like there's always something. Maybe you get strip ball. Like there's always something that makes them interesting, and that just the thing that you don't really talk about when it comes to Blood Bowl, if you're thinking just about tournament builds, is like that story, that franchise feel. And the way the randoms brought in really did kind of help build that franchise vibe for just standard muggles that accidentally scored a touchdown. I loved that. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. Okay, so great things the Blood Bowl 2020 brought in. The random skills and SPP system, the changes to throw-in trips, Blood Bowl 2020. I know you got a list of a couple of things you loved about that edition.
So it's a really simple one, but looking back, I remember it making such a big difference at the time. And it's another stat one. It was the stat armor rolls to being 8+ and 9+, and looking back, you can't remember was it done before, but it was it just was a harder way to work out for new players of what number have I got to roll to break the armor.
Actually, yes. I think this is going to be a really popular one. So Top 5 Friday last week, as this podcast will have come out, is talking about everyone's favorite pips for Blood Bowl 2020. And a lot of it was like actually the stats, moving the stats to a target number plus instead of having the old Warhammer thing of, okay, working it backwards, went down really well. I find it a little limiting in some ways because it looks weird to have a Edge 1+, and that means that there's a cap to Edge 1+, but that's probably fine. Like having a cap of Edge 1+ is probably fine, because what was it? Edge 4 was 2+, Edge 5 would have been 1+, and Edge 6 would have been 0+ in this edition, which obviously doesn't exist, which is probably fine. But I'm an Edge player, so I want Edge 9.
Okay. And I think it's the kind of thing most experienced players, it just took like a couple of games to just get used to the new way of saying it. But I think for new players, it's just a simpler way to pick up the game and learn to play. You can look at your roster and go, right, so I've got to roll a 5 to do that.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, no, that's a really brilliant one, Trips. What else on the list of good things that came out of Blood Bowl 2020 for you?
I think new teams is always a good one, but for me, the biggest thing about new teams was the traits that we started to get. And we started to get individual traits for teams that gave them a twist. So we had Norse with Drunkard. And everyone looked at it and went, oh, I've changed Norse and detail. Be like, that is a fabulous trait just for that team. And it just gives them that little twist and detail that they didn't have before. And I think it was a really good way of, without exploding the number of skills in the game or allowing everyone to access something weird and wonderful, just having something that was unique for certain teams.
I agree with you. I know there's been a lot of feedback as the teams were coming out. They were like, "Oh, if every team gets its own special rule, this is going to be a problem." I mean, I'm really pro having streamlined rule sets, but like a little skill for a player that kind of helps evolve their play style or the narrative around them. So Norse had the beer ball with pick me up, which no one ever really uses. And then you've got Drunkard, which is a real thing about how you got to manage the team, especially like if you're running Norse in 7s. It's like, ooh, okay, got to be very careful here because half my team now are going to end up with the ball, and I have to be very careful because I, turbo run around. So I'm like, oh, cool, lineman moving 6, moving 8, no problems.
Yeah.
Not
All the
how.
time you play Norse sevens and it's in the snow and you've got drunken and you're just like, I have a slow Norse team today.
Yeah. I am now playing a dwarf team. Yeah, I think hit and run was an interesting one for Amazons. I mean, the Chaos Dwarf Flamesmith one was quite good fun as well. Vampires getting Bloodlust back was absolutely perfect. Probably Gnomes having Trickster was solid. But Trips, I think I'm gonna be corporate. I'm gonna build on what you've just said. The new teams and the new stuff that they brought out for this edition is fantastic. Gnomes, what an absolute killer release in 2020.
Oh yeah, I think everyone thought, oh, Gnomes, what they're going to be like, and they've turned out to be one of the best teams that have ever been released for Blood Bowl. Not in terms of one of the best teams that you will win every tournament you play with them, but it's very difficult to play with or against Gnomes and not have fun doing it.
They are a very they can be a really unique challenge, whether you're running them or running against them. And we saw them spike beautifully at Beachhead when BB Nut ran them with the Spam Guard Maple roster. But we've seen them on the channel when BT's run them. They're just like, they just fall apart. Like one sly cough. Yeah, and the team absolutely falls apart. But like, one thing I will say for all of the teams they've introduced this edition, whether it's new teams or reimagined teams, which is the highlight for me for Blood Bowl 2020, is none of them have turned up and been super broken. They've done a brilliant job landing teams and just making them interesting and just getting them playing, and nothing really has landed that's absolutely warped the meta. A couple of high edge stars that, stars have been a bit of a problem this edition because they're aggressively costed, really. But I mean, tournaments take care of that. But yeah, I think for me though, not just introducing the new teams, which have been great, but the way they've reimagined the old teams has been elite, I think. So what they did with Norse, with the Beerball, but the Drunkard, and just the way they reimagined the roster, it made it super fluffy. Vamps getting Bloodlust back and having the new positionals and a big guy, huge win. Chorfs, I think the Chorf roster is more fun. I think it's less powerful than the old one, so it feels a bit like, oh yeah, poor Chaos Dwarfs. But actually, it's weaker because the old roster was a little bit boring, right?
It's the kind of roster where you go, if you were a Chorf player before, you don't like the upgrade because you like the roster before. Everyone else thinks it's more fun.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, the Stabber needs to be cheaper, but hey, I think if they'd landed with a really cheap Stabber, it would have been potentially quite egregious. But I mean, I'm still pro. We got a new edition now, so hopefully they'll rebalance the teams, make the Stabber cheaper, and actually that would probably fix Chaos Dwarves. But for me, the huge win is Amazons. Like, Amazons were the most boring team in Blood Bowl before. Ian Warhammer ran him at Wobble. It was just rubbish. It was like, oh, everyone's got block and these people have got guard and everyone's the same thing. And it was fine, and there's good elements there of having to learn how to position with an Edge 3 team and stuff, but it was just boring to play against, essentially. New roster. A thrower with on the ball, you've got these hit and run blitzers who are really catchers. You've got the blockers who are strength 4 pieces. And the fact that nobody starts with block, it makes the roster it's super powerful, but it's not super linear. And I think that was a great bit of design there, Trips.
Yeah, really liked it. It was really well done, and it got to the point where actually watching teams of legends become teams became great to see, because it wasn't just a case of going, there are now models for a team of legend. It was like the team of legend is now a slightly different, more interesting team.
Yeah, it's been juiced up, and this is something that we still have now, right? We've been waiting to see what they do to Tomb Kings, what they do to High Elves. We've seen that they've not really done a lot with Tomb Kings. They've just introduced Brawler onto the big guys, which I would assume is going to mean that they're a bit more expensive, which might limit the roster in other ways. But I mean, making them more threatening, that's pretty cool. Like, that's a juice up. I'm surprised we didn't see any Scarab Swarms or anything, but it's probably not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So as we kind of crawl through 2020, they also released the Khorne roster. I forgot about that. But I mean, I guess Khorne was kind of in the game before, but they brought it back as a full-on roster, and Khorne fit into the game beautifully. And again, it can run hot and they can be super potent. You ran them brilliantly in sevens on that stream. That was really good fun. But they're not an overpowered team, but they're not an underpowered team. So a really great addition.
Yeah, really, really lots of fun add-ins to the game, and it just gave the game a bit more depth, which is never a bad thing.
Okay, so I'm just reminding myself as we go through what happened in 2020. Then they brought Dungeon Bowl back, which, I mean, we love Dungeon Bowl on the channel. We run many tournaments for Dungeon Bowl. I hope that they bring it back in one way or another, where they get a bit more juice to it. I think with Dungeon Bowl trips, what do you think? Like the complex nature of the college teams, I think may have hampered it ever so slightly.
I mean, it was great to see Dungeon Bowl back. I think where they backed themselves into a corner was trying to put every team into the colleges, and it just got to the point where the colleges have about 75 different positionals they're eligible for every team, and it's got a little bit out of control. So that those rosters could do with a clean and a cleanse, or you could just go down the simple line of going, you can use 3 races in a Dungeon Bowl team.
Yeah.
And here are some other roster building rules. Something like that would work.
Definitely. I mean, it would be really cool to be like, right, I'm running a College of Death, but I'm using Undead with Necromantic, and maybe a third option. But I think just mixed teams. Just use the mixed teams that we use, or just limit it so it's you can have 2/3 of your player number be from one team and 1/3 player number from a second team. That's all you have to do.
Positional skills on it that you can go, you can't have more than this. You can't run 7 big guys.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that would be fun. Then they dropped Amazons, which was a really good roster addition to the game. I really liked that. Blood Bowl 3 landed in this edition. I think maybe we'll talk about Blood Bowl 3 in a minute, because we do have some news to do with that. Then what else? They had Gutter Bowl drop. Gutter Bowl was a brilliant addition to Blood Bowl.
Yeah, well, we had all the variants of Blood Bowl were legitimized during this. So we had sevens come in not too long after the start. Which
in the first Death Zone book.
Before, apparently we quite like sevens. And then Dungeon Bowl and then Gutter Bowl, which Nick and the guys have beautifully done some games over. So it was really nice to see those variants get official rules and detail, because it meant there were more tournaments, there was more access to play them, and it's
more ways to play.
They're not the things that you're going to play every day, but there are a lot of fun.
Good special event stuff. Then they dropped vampires, then they dropped gnomes, then they dropped Chaos Dwarves, and I mean, I think the models just get better and better and better, which is inarguable. So yeah, and that kind of brings us up to now. I just thought it'd be worthwhile just kind of going through the articles to just remind us of some bits that happened. But one of the biggest changes that Blood Bowl 2020 brought in, and I'm intrigued to see if this is still going to be the case when 25 lands, is multiple rerolls per turn. I'd forgotten that was never a thing before, but I'm just kind of going through the comments, and I think Caron mentioned it in our post, and I have no doubt this will be featuring in top 5 Friday. But yeah, multiple rerolls was an interesting one.
Yeah, that changed the dynamic. There was quite a bit of worry at the start of basically you're just going to save them all up, and then turn 7 you're just going to go, I'm going to do whatever I want and I re-roll everything. But I don't think it's made it overpowered. It has made the chance of doing something legendary a bit higher if you can stack the right skills and the right rolls in the right place. However, if you're someone like me, you roll 1 5 times in a row, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, no matter rerolls is going to cost you, is going to save you. Actually, it was AF Anderson and Bluntbrush both mentioned that, and I think that's a really quality one. I actually loved this. I love this change. Yeah, it means that, like you said, Trips, in some turns you're going to be a bit turbocharged and you're going to pull off a lot of shenanigans, but it's going to cost you all your rerolls, and I think it's actually a really fun thing for you as a player to be able, like, we see it every time. And I think even in our game that I eventually will edit and put on the channel here, you know, I think there were a couple of turns where I double dipped on my rerolls. So I was like, no, I really want this turn to go well. No, I really want this turn to go well. And it cost you a couple of rerolls, but it made for like, it gave me the choice as a player to invest my resources where I want to, instead of kind of nailing my feet to the ground. I love that. Oh no, OWA technically landed in 2016, didn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
They landed, then they were slightly updated.
Yeah, I think they were slightly worsened immediately. Although OWA have done pretty well in this edition.
Yes.
They did very well in their Bonehead Championship, and they've done very well in tournaments as well. All right, so Blood Bowl landed in 2020. A load of cool changes to the rules. Definitely a bit of move my cheese, and I'm sure we'll see some move my cheese this edition as well. But some really great stuff came out of just what Games Workshop did. But I have a feeling your list includes a couple of things beyond Games Workshop.
Yeah, so I think Games Workshop did a beautiful job of giving us another version and another season. We'll take that, and you can see from the excitement in the community. But I think partly due to the nature of technology, partly due to that year of plague and detail, but I think it's fair to say we have seen an explosion of third-party teams and availability of third-party, not just teams and accessories and details for Blood Bowl, and we are beautifully spoilt as Blood Bowl players now. It's not a case of going, oh, here is the team if you want to play this team. Here are the 10 different versions of that team. Some people, some sculptors doing multiple versions of teams for details. There is a real set of options and details out there to go and play with.
Like Brute Fun is a quality example of this. Like, he's just dropped his star players this month. I got them over there to do some print pitch videos over the weekend. And, you know, I remember when we used to do top 5 teams, and sometimes I'd really struggle to find like a third, a fourth, or a fifth team. That's not the case anymore. You could always do a top 5 3D printed teams and a top 5 order from somebody teams. Like,
yeah.
Punga, Ugni, Brute Fun, some amazing stuff. Then you've got Grebo and Punga doing some excellent physical stuff too. You've got Wear Games and Fanath also doing some brilliant physical stuff. Like, there's almost too many to name, but like you said, they've gone into the point where now you're like, okay, I want a goblin team. What kind of goblin team? Do you want a goblin team? Do you want a squig goblin team? Do you want a horror goblin team? Do you want a clown goblin team? Like, beautifully spoiled, Trips, I think, was exactly the correct terminology. And the great thing about Blood Bowl is that the community, as long as you can tell what the players are supposed to be, as long as you're not being a muppet about it, it's almost actively encouraged, because it's like, that team is cool. Where's that from? Why did you? And it's just wicked. We are absolutely blessed. You're exactly right, Trips.
Yeah, we were beautifully spoiled as a community, and long may that continue. And I think we're very lucky that with the changes that look like they're coming, it doesn't look like we're all getting all of our teams completely nullified and detailed, which will make those of us that cannot paint a team in less than 24 hours much happier.
It's the fact that all teams are staying, that they called out in the article, was great, because I know there was a rumor going around that the mixed team stuff, so Renegades, OWA, Underworld, were going away. I mean, they've said in the article that all teams are going to be good to go, so I am on board with that. I mean, Bruty's even already done a star player for Bretonians and Tomb Kings, which is just, you've got the Green Knight, and you've got can't remember his name, the big
not Mumra, not Raman Raman.
Yeah, Ramtut. That's it. Absolute beast. Assuming he's going to be in there. So other than the STLs and the third-party stuff, which was strong and has just got even stronger, tournament numbers have gone up a little bit in 2020 edition, right?
Oh, I mean, there isn't a weekend when there's not a Blood Bowl tournament near you that you can run. Near you might be a stretch. for some people, but there are tournaments all the time across the world. And I think, as you're showing it here, the biggest thing that's helped that is tour play.
Yeah.
For those who have ever run a tournament, the hardest thing about running a tournament is running a tournament and doing the admin and matching the teams up and getting the points to add up and it not figuring out. And tour play does that amazingly for tournaments and leagues as well. Often forget that it is a great league tool, but tour
Yes.
play has just made it easy to go, I'm going to arrange a tournament. I'm going to have 20 people come and do it, and I do not need to worry about the admin because I just need to follow a simple how to set it up guide on tour play.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, you think about tournaments, you think about the numbers, but the fact that it makes running a league utterly no nonsense. Now, it costs a bit of money, but I mean, I love a good Google spreadsheet, but it's worth the however the heck month. I mean, Wobble on a spreadsheet was fine if you were actively on it and you forced the players to do the stuff, but the fact tour play just takes care and prompts people to do it all as they go. It's awesome. It's the biggest unlocker, I think. Now, we can't run Beachhead this year, but Peter said he's found a couple of people who are going to be running Beachhead. Don't know what they're going to call it or anything like that. I would assume Beachhead, but you've got to assume that that's going to be run by Tourplay because it would be an absolute no-brainer to run it on a. I mean, I know the historical thing was like, why aren't you using Score? I was like, because Score was rubbish back in the day if you didn't know how to use it.
You needed an advanced degree in software engineering to be able to use it, and heaven forbid anything would go wrong with it because it would either wipe itself or you'd be stuck in a puddle of your own sweat going, everybody wants to know why it's all gone horribly wrong between round one.
Yeah, we had a couple of moments with it, right, which then led us to just almost primarily using the Google Sheet, but we ended up having to use Score so that it could translate the results so that we could upload it to the NAF. Tourplay does everything for you. The players can enter their own stuff as they're playing. They can enter it at the end of the match. You can enter it if the players can't do it. It's just really a phenomenal tool that's just enabled brilliant leagues, a league everywhere, multiple leagues, whatever you want to do. It's just absolutely wicked. It's such a good one, and I do miss playing in a league. I've dropped now to 20th for UK Skaven. That's sad. I was up in the top. I can't remember, top 10, top 5 at one point. But yeah, and that's quite cool too. So I get the whole stats things. What was that? 3-2 win, 3-0 win, a 2-0 win, a 3-2 win, a 3-2 win, a 3-3 draw against Dalio, a 4-1 win, a 3-3 win, a 4-2 win, and then I lost in the finals. 4-1. That was brutal. That was a brutal game. But yeah, we've been absolutely blessed by Blood Bowl 2020. Anything else on your list, Trips, you wanted to kind of highlight for the 2020 edition?
For me, there was the biggest things that I thought of straight away. I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot of other thoughts. We've had a lot of new players come to the game. It'll be interesting to see what they've thought was the best thing. Some of us are long time Blood Bowl players from days before when there were all sorts of weird stats and rules and details. But I think the addition overall, it's just given us many more options and details, and no one will be sad to see it go because everyone's excited about the future. But it wasn't an addition that killed the game, which is potential of any upgrade.
Yeah, that's definitely it. I mean, we've talked a lot about additions for all sorts of games, but it grew Blood Bowl. And I think one of my favorite things, like the way the game played was great. The community boosts to accessibility for teams, to accessibility of running leagues, and then how much fun and how much progress we made on all the Bonehead championships. And the way we were able to stream and record games. I'm super excited to get our hands on the rules and the teams for the next edition because we've got some big plans for next year to get just more Blood Bowl, because more Blood Bowl is more better without any shadow of a doubt. And I'm super looking forward to just playing a load of games and sharing a load of games in the new edition.
It's not bad when it's a little bit self-congratulating, isn't it, when you look at it and go, but it's pretty nice to think that we've been able to put some content together that people have enjoyed and we've had fun doing it. And lots of memorable moments, most of them painfully involving players dying at a critical point in the game. But yeah, it's been great as an addition, and we're really excited for that rule drop day where we all go, right, now we can do it. Podcast team assemble.
So final thought for you, Trips. Will you still be opening your turns with a big guy blitz if possible?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, why would you ever not do that? I mean, it works at least 1% of the time.
Games Workshop have released some new Space Marines.
Oh,
who knew?
Never seen a new Space Marine in Workshop.
No, wicked. Look, we cannot wait to find out more about 2025, but we'd be remiss without kind of checking in on all the good stuff that 2020 brought. Yeah, there was some change. Yeah, there were some bits that got worse, but I don't think I can overly think of too many of them, because the game has ended up insanely playable for years, and variants and all sorts of stuff have been a lot of fun. So yes, absolutely love it. One last thing before we wrap up though, I didn't get a chance to prep, so Karen, I'm so sorry, but Karen is running the Bonehead podcast Discord Blood Bowl 3 League at the moment, and I said we'd try and do some check-ins on episodes to do upgrades on scores and things like that, so we'll be looking to do that so we can track the league on as it goes on, because I think it's a really cool thing to do. But unfortunately I was at head office this week, so I've not had enough prep time to get my stuff together, so that's on me. But as we move forward with the podcast, you know, we'll be checking on the BB3 League.
We can definitely touch in about the fact that I think the Karen and the guys who are playing it have proved that you can run a Blood Bowl League on Blood Bowl 3, and they've figured out the admin side of it in detail. And if you have a strong community or want to talk to each other and play, there's been a lot of fun in the first round of games. They've got to the end of the first round and everyone's keen to go forward, or those that have dragged some of their team into the second game will be looking at how they can recover in detail. So really great to see that more people can play a league format, and we literally have players all over the world playing in that. So well done guys for doing it.
That it's not going away, right? Because they've announced that the rules will be updated next year in line with this edition of Blood Bowl.
And I love the fact they said next year, because they could have said in the future, which in Blood Bowl 3 terms could have been in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But just think that at some point next year, the rule set for the new edition of Blood Bowl will go into Blood Bowl 3. Means if you are looking at Blood Bowl 3 and go, should I get into it or not? Yeah, pick it up on sale at some point. It's not going to die next year, and it'll be the best way to play it with a graphical input next year.
Yeah, for me it sneaky means that the rule set isn't changing, I think, as much. Yeah. Because if it was a big old reset, a big old change with a new stat and all this kind of stuff, I think they would, I mean, Cyanide would struggle, right? So I think it means that the rule set's staying reasonably
the same. They're not introducing a whole heap of new stats and details. We're playing with tweaks and rule changes, which is great, because that means fundamentally we don't have to relearn how to play the game we love.
Yep, which I am super on board with. Right, Trips, anything else you want to touch on with 2020, or should we call it a day?
We'll call it a day. Very happy, looking forward and looking back.
Yeah, it should be a busy couple of months. Right, Trips, thanks very much for joining me, and everybody else there, let us know what you think about this new edition, and we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking.